This program refers to child sexual abuse and contains interviews that some listeners may find upsetting. In recent years, physical and psychological abuse within sports classes and school teams has repeatedly made headlines. As early as 2021, news organizations reported cases involving a celebrated Kaohsiung coach and multiple gender-based incidents in sports dormitories. And most of these incidents happened in high school or middle school. Young student athletes immersed in intense physical contact and high-pressure training often develop unhealthy dependence on their coaches, and hierarchical senior-junior structures, as well as academic performance pressures, further discourage victims from reporting abuse. In early September, I went to a forum held by the Humanistic Education Foundation, where they released a report titled Blood, Sweat, and Training: Does it build champions or break athletes? A panel discussion inspired by the NTNU incident and field research on student athletes. Now, you might be wondering, what is the NTNU incident? The National Taiwan Normal University, or NTNU, women's soccer blood draw case emerged in November 2024 when an NTNU student exposed that the women's soccer coach had, under the guise of research project, forced players to undergo repeated blood draws for years, threatening to withhold graduation credits if they refused. Students in NTNU's women's soccer team were forced to give blood, sometimes daily, for 14 consecutive days, and some underwent this process for 3 to 7 years. And the purpose of drawing their blood is for a research project. That's according to their coach, who up until today failed to explain the experiment's purpose and requested retroactive consent signatures only after data had been collected. And just as you thought that things could not get any worse, non-professional staff, including older students and so-called aunties, performed the blood draws, often puncturing players multiple times when veins could not be found. And players were threatened with losing academic credits if they refused to cooperate. How did this happen for years? My name is Iris Xu. You're listening to The Divide.
The Control Yuan once investigated a series of sexual assault incidents involving sports class athletic teams. It issued a corrective measure against the Ministry of Education, requiring the ministry to address the special cultural structure within sports classes, one characterized by unequal power relations and fundamentally different from regular classes. We also discovered a case in Taipei involving a sports team that was part of a sports class. It wasn't just one coach. The entire staff, from the athletic trainer to the assistant coach and head coach, verbally abused students, imposed improper fees, incited senior students to bully their juniors, carried out corporal punishments and humiliation, and even embezzled students' subsidies. That was one of the cases we handled in the past. And this year, we have also been dealing with a case involving a basketball team in Tainan, also a sports class, where the coach had long subjected students to humiliation and corporal punishment.
Now, to understand how the NTNU blood draw incident happened, I have to start from the very beginning by looking at the environment the students' athletes are in.
I'm Katia Lin, and I'm now working in Humanistic Education Foundation as a secretary.
Katia Lin is the main author of the report. She, along with her colleagues, investigated the systemic problems faced by students' athletes in Taiwan's school sport class system. They interviewed 17 people, including 16 former student athletes and one athletic trainer. They aged between 18 and 39, came from baseball, soccer, track and field, basketball, handball, taekwondo, and other disciplines.
This report is especially targeted on those students who has experience of athlete class. It's a very unique and special education system in Taiwan school, which is a isolated class, which is only athlete will study inside. Like the school, they put all the athlete inside this class. This kind of class will starting in a very early age. Most of the people in the interview, they say they have joined it in like age like 13, which is junior high school age or high school age. But most of them were studying in the 13 years old. And in there will be 2 sessions being we have many sessions in a day, and 2 sessions of it will be training for the training.
In Katia's report, 15 out of 17 participants said that they received training more than the legal limit of 3 hours per day, often spanning between 4 and 9 hours. Training was highly repetitive, with unrealistic demands such as running 100 meters 40 times a day or diving for volleyballs 20 times consecutively.
So based on their sport, in those 2 sessions, they have to go to do their sport. But however, from the study, and it's more than 2 sessions for training. Usually, the training time is overtime. The regulation of Taiwanese government, they only allow them to do the training for 3 hours. Shouldn't be more. However,
per day?
Yeah, per day, by days. However, most of them, they're saying they have been trained like 4 hours, 7 hours, or even when they are close to the competition, the coach might give them a 9-hour a day training.
And does that mean they spend less time in classrooms?
Yeah, they're spending less time in the classroom for their academic learning. That's why that influenced their study a lot. There's also another report from the reporter, which is a Taiwan media. They say especially in the basketball team, when they go to a task which is similar with SAT, and the student usually they got lower grades than the most of the ordinary class.
Sports class students often miss a large portion of their classes due to long training and competitions. Some reported being absent for over 100 periods in one semester, with extended training camps lasting 1 or 2 months. And what's worse is that teachers, schools assumed sports students were not there to study. Many deliberately simplified tests, leaked questions, or tolerated cheating to maintain athletes' eligibility for competition. Katia found that there is a systemic neglect. Over 70% of respondents said that their classes de-emphasized academics entirely. In some schools, teachers spent entire semesters showing unrelated videos instead of teaching. And then the vicious cycle begins, where sports class students were widely labeled as unruly or hopeless, enforcing a circle of neglect. Math and science teachers openly gave up on them. And when one adult gave up on a student, the student would turn to another adult, which is often their coach, who a lot of them routinely disguise physical punishment as conditioning. The duration and the intensity of the training often depended on the coach's mood.
They have to do like a really overtime training, which is not sports scientific based. And the reason is because sometimes the coach didn't know how to train them. So the way to getting a good score, because the purpose of this athlete class is for winning the gold medal. So for make them to be an elite athlete without a scientific based training, the only thing he can do is repeating the activity all the time. Like for example, the 100-meter dash, he want the athlete to do 11 seconds. So, and the athlete didn't do it, couldn't make it, then he made him run again, and it's like 40 times doing the 100 dash. It sounds ridiculous, but it's frequently happen in the athlete class from our reports.
And can students say no?
It's very difficult to say no, because once they say no, the coach wouldn't be happy, and most of them also reported they're having experience violence, like physical violence or mentally violence from their coaches during the training. There were we have the interview with 17 of them, 15 of them saying they have experienced corporal punishment such as make you physically painful as a punishment, and then 7 of them say they have been beaten or seen their classmate being beaten by the coaches.
As part of the collective punishment for
Yes.
someone.
Yes.
So even if you didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
you could still be punished because one of your teammates did something.
Yes. This is kind of most of the coach, especially with team sport like soccer, this kind of, you have the team, and the coach will say this is for building the team, teamship, so building their cooperations. So if any one of them make mistake, but all of them have to do it.
What prompted you to do this report?
Well, we have focused on this study, the case of the athlete class, because in Taiwan we have receiving some serial case about it. Like our foundation has a very unique job, like we assisting those victims in the school when they suffer from mistreating from the teachers or the school system. We didn't especially focus on any class, ordinary class or athlete class. However, we have been seeing and receiving couple serious cases, and they are from athlete class. And the model is very similar. Like there will be corporal punishment, there will be collective punishment to the student, and the coaches usually have extremely power on everything, on the management of the class, and the school wouldn't say anything. In some cases are very serious. It was in Taiwan. It was in a basketball team. The student was being slapping in front of some of the supervisors in the school, but they done nothing. Like they saw it, and they even went to the student, asked her, "How are you? Are you okay?" And but they didn't report it. They didn't launch any investigation against the coaches, and actually they allow the coaches to keep teaching the kids. So in that case, it's very serious. Like the students sometimes was like asking to kneeling on the dorms, because they have to live in the dorms. Kneeling on the dorms for overnight, and the next day she has to ask to do a jumping rope for 1,000 times, 2,000 times. So it's close to abusing. So in this case, we realize, like from those many cases, it's not just one cases. It's just not one coach being bad or kind of out of control. It's the whole system. They were building up this kind of cultures, and they couldn't prevent it.
Some people might think that athletes are supposed to have a higher tolerance of pain or exhaustion or other physical limits. But what if I tell you, in 2022, a 7-year-old boy died after being slammed to the ground 27 times by his judo coach and older students in Taichung?
We didn't really receiving the case directly. It's from the news. And what happened to the boy is the coach was doing a judo training, and after that the boy have a brain trauma, and which caused his death lately. Well, the thing is, we saw the video tape, because the kids was there, and some parents were even recording his training. And from that records, we can see the boy was being asking to doing a judo throw. Like he's a person be throw, and he need to protect himself. That's a normal judo training, yes. But the boy was like, I think 8 years old, and that's his second week in the judo. And the coach asking to do 100 throw, like being throw for 100 times. So if you have even experienced the judo training for adult, being throw for maybe 3 times already very tiring and painful. So for a boy in this age and experience, asking to do 100 times is super unreasonable. So we believe, even though we couldn't see from the sentence, but we believe it probably out of a reason for punish him, because only this student were asking to receiving this kind of training, but the other was doing like burpee jump, something like some physical training. Only this boy asking for doing 100 times. So we believe this is very similar with the cases. It's out of the same reasons. Like the coach might not satisfied with his attitude, with his spirit, or with his technique, and then what he comes out is like, then you do this more. Or even it's like if you show an attitude like, I don't want to do it, I'm so tiring, the coach will thinking to push using more repetitions actually for punishment.
I see.
Right.
And to be fair, this case didn't happen in school.
This happened not in the school. It's in judo venue, which is sponsored and organized by the. They have a Taiwan Association for Judo. It's also a system which is sponsored by the judo associations.
And now let's go back to school, because you would think that school has more regulations, guardrails, supervisions,
right,
on these classes, but instead there's a case in Taiwan where 41 students from the baseball team were sexually harassed.
Yes, and it's sexually harassed by the coaches.
In December 2014, a Little League baseball coach at an elementary school in Taichung was exposed of sexually assaulting 41 of his players from 2018 to October 2024. Now you might be thinking what I was thinking. How was this possible that the coach was able to get away with it for 7 years?
Well, this is a sexual abusement. It's not really, especially in this kind of situation, was like a coach to the student or the seniors to the junior. This is like most of people were thinking sexual abuse is like you're a perv, you have the wrong approach to a certain, you have wrong sexual approach to a certain in some certain situations. However, we found all the cases about sexual abuse. Most of the sexual abuse from this kind of unbalance, mostly because one of the person hold a really strong power, and this is a way to show the control to the other one. And it usually happen if this environment is like one of the person has extreme power and without any regulation, which is exactly happened from the reports. Like most of the athlete class happen. It might not go into the state of sexual abuse, but we can see those corporal punishment can keep happening again and again, and then they can beating the kids in front of the supervisor, and the school won't do anything. In this environment, it can go into an extreme case such as sexual abuse. So for example, one of our participants, he also telling us it was his fifth grade in primary school. So I think he was 11 years old, and he's in the baseball team. So they will have this kind of like many school together, and they train together. And one of the school students come to the student, which is he's 11 years old, and telling him their coaches has been sexually abused, which is like is like really serious one, and then to him and to other kids. And this our participants was like shocked and asking them, did you tell your teachers? Like you should let the teachers know. And they say they couldn't tell to the teacher because most of their time they are staying with the coach. They couldn't find a good chance and good timing to tell to your teacher. So this is commonly happen because especially in the baseball, they will have maybe like 3 major competition in a years, and for preparing one competition, you probably will take 2 months to preparing it. So you can imagine the time they're spending with their coach are very intense and a lot, and then there will be fewer time they can have in the school to have the company by the other teachers. So in this kind of really isolated situations, and the coach are very close with the student, it's really hard for them to have another chance, another way to speak out if there's any mistreating happening on them.
When sports classes become special zones, school protections don't reach them. Next week, we continue our conversation with Katia Lin about the crime that has been committed by the coach at NTNU and how one of the top universities in Taiwan mishandled the case. Thank you for listening to The Divide. This episode is produced by Radio Taiwan International.